from Panama. Banana, banana, banana from Panama.
Speaking of China, China's involved with the Panama Canal. They won't be for long, and that's the way it has to be. Marco just got back, as you know. He's in the process of coming back. I guess he's almost back by now. And he had a very long conversation with the leader of Panama, the respected man, and some others, the entire leadership group. And we're trying to work a deal on the Panama Canal. The Panama Canal was given foolishly years ago to, it shouldn't have been happened, years ago to Panama by Jimmy Carter and the group. We lost 38,000 people building the Panama Canal, like one of the great wonders of the world. It's the biggest job we've ever built, the biggest project we've ever built in this country, dollar-wise and every other way. 38,000 people died, Americans, all men, just about, laborers and construction people. They went to Panama. The mosquito got them. Between mosquito and snakes, we lost 38,000 people. It was the most expensive project ever built by the United States. The biggest, most expensive project we ever built 110 years ago. If you bring it up to now, it would have been the equivalent of $2 trillion. The most expensive we ever built, and we gave it away for $1, okay? We gave it away essentially for nothing. And we either want it back, or we're gonna get something very strong, or we're going to take it back. And China will be dealt with. And we didn't give that to China, we gave it to Panama. We shouldn't have given it to Panama, but Panama, as you know, has violated the agreement, totally violated the agreement. So that's in the process right now, but they did have a very good meeting with the head of Panama.
Welcome to my European Philosophy channel. Well, Panama was stolen from Spain with the Maine, along with Philippines, Puerto Rico, and Cuba. The CIA version of the story, which is on Wikipedia, claims that it was Pulitzer, the father of modern journalism, the one who publicized and pushed America to a war with an allied country as Spain. But we know it was a complete fucking bullshit. It was a false flag operation, just like the Gulf of Tonkin incident, just like 9/11, which was a total inside job, or just like COVID-19, which was a plan designed to depopulate the planet.
Mr. President, do you expect phase 2 of the hostage deal to go forward?
Let me talk to you later.
Mr. President, you managed to get this deal done. A lot of people say that the men who managed to do that should get a Nobel Peace Prize. Do you think that you'll be able to get all the hostages back home? And what would happen if you hear from the Israelis
They will
that...
never give me a Nobel Peace Prize.
What would happen...
Well, this couple of psychopaths got together yesterday, and Trump is kind of sad because nobody would ever give him a Nobel Prize. Netanyahu just turned a place in which 2 million people lived into a bunch of rubble, and now they want to take the land and build some condos there. Just for the Jews, of course. You should never yell genocide in the European Commission, and you should feel sorry for the victims of the Jewish Holocaust. Only, you should never take into consideration that 70% of the world's population have been inoculated with a bioweapon, and you should never challenge the narrative by the mainstream media. Otherwise, you're a conspiracy nut.
What would happen if Israel...
I deserve it, but they will never give it to me.
What would happen, sir? What would normalization to go forward? What needs to happen for normalization with Saudi Arabia?
Well, we're going to see, and we're dealing with a lot of people, and we have steps to go yet, as you know, and maybe those steps go forward, and maybe they don't. We're dealing with a very complex group of people, situation and people, but we have the right man, we have the right leader of Israel. He's done a great job. You know what it is? Peace. We want peace. We want people to stop being killed. But everybody's demanding one thing. Very simple, peace. And he wants peace also.
Mr. President.
every single ape in the world acknowledges that the United States of America is completely controlled by Israel, and so is the European Union. Most people are still suffering from collective PTSD. Journalists are afraid of losing their jobs because everything is genocidal now. Everything is insane. They would have invaded Iran if it wasn't for the fact that they have nuclear weapons. And now Trump is threatening Panama with invasion or whatever, a sovereign nation who is completely independent. For years, the American government was the one telling which country was responsible enough to have nuclear weapon and which country wasn't, but who said that the United States of America is responsible for having nuclear weapons in the first place? If you don't get the nukes, you're vulnerable. And these people are trying to turn the West into the new China. Trump can pardon any criminal he wants, and the CIA can take anybody into custody on the pretext of national security. But what happens when the problem to national security or world security is the very same CIA? Then you get a Saturnian world in which governments are trying to exterminate their own people. These megalomaniacs don't need us. They are going to use drones instead of people to fight their wars. And that idea of countries being for the people, by the people, to the people, is completely forgotten. The world belongs to corporations now, and we are just useless eaters. It wouldn't surprise me, like in the movie Oppenheimer, we would end up destroying ourselves, and perhaps that could be even a blessing, because what is coming is simply not human. Accepting that 50% of the world's history for the last 2 centuries at least is complete bullshit is not an easy pill to swallow. Thank you for listening to me. Bye-bye. Namaste.
Which leads me to conclude that if, in fact, compromise is not coming, that the traditional way of America gets to war is what would be best for U.S. interests. Some people might think that Mr. Roosevelt wanted to get us into World War II, as David mentioned. You may recall we had to wait for Pearl Harbor. Some people might think Mr. Wilson wanted to get us into World War I. You may recall he had to wait for the Lusitania episode. Some people might think that Mr. Johnson wanted to send troops to Vietnam. You may recall we had to wait for the Gulf of Tonkin episode. We didn't go to war with Spain until the until the Maine exploded. And may I point out that Mr. Lincoln did not feel he could call out the Federal Army until Fort Sumter was attacked, which is why he ordered the commander at Fort Sumter to do exactly that thing which the South Carolinians had said would cause an attack. So if, in fact, the Iranians aren't going to compromise, it would be best if somebody else started the war.
Gentlemen,
And I think he'd face a lot of resistance if he tried to push that idea through. But that is possible. I mean, this is a man who seems to place such high priority on revolutionary fervor. And we will find that out. I don't know. But I would just like to suggest that one can combine other means of pressure with sanctions. I mentioned that explosion on August 17th. We could step up the pressure. I mean, look, people, Iranian submarines periodically go down. Someday one of them might not come up. Who would know why? We can do a variety of things if we wish to increase the pressure. I'm not advocating that, but I'm just suggesting that this is not a either-or proposition. Of, it's just sanctions has to succeed or other things. We are in the game of using covert means against the Iranians. We could get nastier at that.
I grew up around a lot of Jewish people. I went to Hebrew preschool, Rachel Spiro in South Africa. My name is very Jewish.
I will tell you that for the past 10 years, people have assumed in my community that you were Jewish until I informed them otherwise.
Yeah.
Elon is a pretty Jewish name.
He's super Jewish.
Yeah.
And then I went to Israel when I was 13. Visited Masada. I'm certainly checking the boxes on a lot of things. Like I said, most of my friends are Jewish, just worked out that way. So sometimes I guess maybe I forget, am I Jewish?